All right, we are recording. Give me one quick second. If you are currently unmuted, if you could mute, I would greatly appreciate it. It cuts down on reverberation. Here we go, that's me. All right. I see, Mary, you have your hand up. Do you have a question before we get started?
Yeah, and probably other people can relate to this. Last night, my 14-week-old puppy had 2 bouts of diarrhea. Do we always start with the Propectolin, adding that at meal times?
Yeah, usually, well, probably the very first thing that I would recommend doing is starting with a fecal at your vet, just to rule out any sort of parasites. And then go to something, because if you're fighting a parasite, then nothing's going to help it other than medication. So usually that's how I start off with, is doing a fecal. If that comes back clear, then yeah, like the Propectolin. Sometimes cutting down on food too, cutting back a little bit on the food will also help.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. All right, so I just pinned me, and I am giant on the screen, which I think is not a normal thing for me to see. So hopefully I am large now for everyone. Are you guys large? Am I large?
No, you're still split screen with a couple of other people.
Okay. Well, it looks like everyone's cameras are off, so I'm pinned. Spotlight for everyone? I'll try this. Oh, I pinned myself. Oh, I think I just learned something.
Yeah, that's good now.
Okay. I think I just learned how to see myself on here without, because when I'm trying to demonstrate for you guys, I want to see what you guys are seeing, and I'm usually this tiny little box in the corner, and I just pinned myself, and I am large now. This actually, look at this, how long I've been doing it. I've just learned something new. All right, I am, so I should be spotlighted for everyone. Let's get ourselves started here. Just so everyone knows, we are recording. And I also want to throw out, to make sure that everyone knows, that starting tonight, we are doing the, every other week, we're doing a national series of puppy classes that talks about our foundational skills and really what we want everyone to focus on, and our new approach to training. So that is 8 p.m. Eastern, so 5 p.m. Pacific. So go to, I believe James was putting out the link again, was refreshing it on the blog to come up. Again, I think it would have come out on Sunday, reminding everyone that the class is starting this week, and it's every other week for the next 5 weeks, I believe. So check that out. If you're in the North Central region and you guys participate in my question and answer sessions that are usually tonight at 8 p.m., we are not doing the question and answer sessions because I will be on with James and the other puppy program managers with all of you talking about the foundational exercises. So join us tonight or late afternoon for our West Coasters for the series that we're putting on to help everyone get under the new thought process for what we are, our new training style, which isn't really new, but better explained, because I feel like I'm poorly explaining it here. So anyway, okay. Let's get started. Today we are talking about jump up and under, and we will, I will be demonstrating here with Stacy.
Oh, Jesus.
We've got someone unmuted. If you can mute, please. Sorry, we get this like bad feedback and everything when when other people are unmuted. That's such an odd thing for me on Teams. But anyway, we're doing jump up and under. It's going to be interesting to see. So Stacy is a puppy. She is being raised locally. She is in heat. I have been told I need to make sure I clean up the room after, which I agree. I will clean up the room after for our kennel supervisor. Hopefully she's not bleeding too badly, but I thought this would be a good opportunity for you guys to see. She's an active puppy. I've actually not worked her yet, so she and I are brand new. So you guys are going to see hopefully things that you would typically see with raising a dog, that might be having excitability issues. It looks like we've got a couple of people who put something in the... Yeah, Bonnie, I realized I was talking to myself on the computer, but the camera is right here instead of me looking over here. I realized that. Well, these foundational series will be recorded, and yes, they will be recorded and available for later viewing. Will every other week class... Yeah, we will, yes, the classes this evening will be recorded. And then we've asked how old is this puppy. I think she's close to a year now. She came in June of 2021 because she was part of the Duke study. So she 9 months old, something like that, but she's in heat. So I know she's older. She's at least 9 months of age. So I'm pretty confident she's not 8. So she's about 9 months of age. I know the puppy raisers have worked on some of these things, so she probably has an introduction to jump up and under, but we're going to see what she gives us, and I will work through her excitability, some of her pulling. We'll talk about positioning, and I'll try and answer any questions that you guys might have, which I do see here we have one. Is there a minimum age to teach jump so as not to damage their joints? That's actually a really good point with this. Probably the act of jumping up is different than the act of jumping down, okay? And how jump technically just means, well, let's just start, we'll start off with jump here. So jump tells the dog to put all 4 feet up onto some sort of surface, okay? Now, we are taking a slightly different approach in regards to the command sequence. So you know how we've had the age limit, like 6 months and older, I think is where 6 to 9 months is where you can introduce the command jump to the dogs. And we think about the dogs jumping up onto something. And as we know, a puppy that's younger than 6 months, the coordination is just not there. But what you can do is when you have a little puppy, you can start to introduce the concept of jumping at a really young age, but you're doing it for age appropriate for their size, okay? So if you have, let's just say, a 10, 12-week-old puppy, so they've been with you for a little bit, and this is what I do when I have a little puppy and I am just interacting with them and teaching them about the world and starting to label different behaviors. So I go for a walk with the puppy in the neighborhood, and when I cross the street, instead of going to the curb cut, what I'll do is I'll go over to the actual curb, and I will say, as the puppy is coming up to the curb, as they start to jump up onto the curb, which is a very natural behavior, the puppies are going to do it, I'm going to say jump, okay? So when you are teaching this behavior, okay, one, momentum is always going to be your friend when you're teaching jump, okay, versus coming to a standstill and then asking them to jump. Because as some of you guys know, some of our dogs do not have the most energy or feel that something is kind of difficult and they just don't make the effort. And so if you get them going with momentum and then ask them to do something, usually they're going to be more apt to give you something that you can reward. Okay. So when we have, so we've got this little puppy. So what I'll do is like, I come to to the curb as they're leaping up onto stepping up onto the curb, I'll say jump, and then yay. And then we just keep walking. The movement after, so when you get up onto the curb, is reward enough. I don't have to stop and give them a treat for doing that, because what the puppy is doing is when I come up to something and they start to jump, they're hearing me pair the word with the action. Okay, so that's really, really the big thing that puppy raisers first start doing when you're teaching any behavior at any age. You're teaching the action first. What is it that their body is doing that is indicating that's the behavior that we want? Okay, so now if I have one little step back here, where I also do this on is the steps going into my house. So I live in a ranch. I actually don't have that many steps, so that's something that I tend to have to search out. But I do have a couple steps that come into the house, but they're spread out, okay? So whenever I come up my driveway and I come up to the first step and I see the puppy starting to go, I'll be jump, yay! And then we come, 4 feet, and then we have to turn to get up onto the stoop, and then the puppy jumps, I'll say jump, and then we've got one more step to go into the house, and I'll be like jump as we're heading into the house. And it's all natural movement, but the puppy is hearing that. So that's how I introduce jump at this young age, at stuff that is things where they would naturally crawl up and over. I will utilize that for the jump command. And I actually just realized I'll have to go into our closet there, because it might be over here, but we have this little platform that we use that's maybe, I think about it as probably shoulder height for a 12-week-old puppy, 10, 12-week-old puppy, because they climb up onto it. And I'll show you what's behind me too there that we can talk about. So think about it that way, is we can start labeling these behaviors, but when we want to get them to jump higher, yes, we want to wait until they're over 6 months, okay? But very more specifically with coming off of stuff. So Stacy here is, so she's 9 months. I don't really have any concerns with having her jump off of, let me move out of your guys', where am I going? The jump on box is here. So this jump on box is pretty high. And so I'm not 100% sure if she will jump onto it, but the one that's right below it is usually you're probably a 4-month-old puppy can jump up onto that, and then jump off of that would be fine. But a 4-month-old puppy jumping off of our taller jump on boxes, and this is also with coming in and out of your car. What I would do is, if we get the dogs to jump into the car and they're like 4 to 6 months, maybe up to 8 months, especially if they're a really large dog, what I would do is help them down off of it, okay? So that's probably the other part of this, is with the jumping, because it's the pressure on them landing, the gravity is where I have the concerns with causing some sort of issue. The other thing is, probably think about it this way, is repetitive jumping is where we have the problem, okay? So let's just say you have a 6-month-old dog that can jump onto something that is the height of this jump on box. And I have that dog jump off of it. I probably wouldn't just be going, jump off, jump off, jump off, because that's where you're getting that repetitive landing on those elbows, that probably where if you have a dog that's disposed to having elbow issues, that probably is not going to help them. So it's the jumping off where I tend to be very cautious and will help them down a lot in the car off of something this high. I'll start supporting them down to the ground versus any concern with them jumping up. But again, it's the repetitive motion of jumping. If you've got a dog that's predisposed to hip dysplasia, if we are constantly having them doing these things without building muscle and stamina and understanding what exactly we are wanting them to do, that's when you can run into issues all the way up until they're over a year because they're still growing this entire time. So hopefully that answers your question, Dave. Long-winded, of course, as you guys know that I tend to be like that. But let's just get her started here. I'm going to get her out. I'm going to warm her up. We're going to see how responsive she is to me. And then I'm going to move that jump on box. And then we're going to start small and work our way up and then talk about when we might have some issues in regards to higher items with some of the dogs. Okay. Do this. This is a step. Cece, sit. Good girl. This is a step. We've been using this. We use this in professional training. Sit. Hey. Good girl. For the pivots. Okay. But this is also something you can think about as teaching. Introducing jump to a little tiny puppy is just something as big as this, because it gets all 4 feet. Hey, sit. Good girl. All 4 feet up onto this. I've got to be a little bit better of a handler here because, hey, good girl. Good job. She is dancing around a little bit, and I need to be a little bit of a better handler watching her. Good girl. Good, Stacy. Let's go. Good job. I gotta try something here, you guys. We got our battery to work, so you don't have to look at the table. There you go. Okay, come here, Stacy. Hey. I'm gonna prime her up here. Sit. Good girl. Stacy, down. Good girl. Stacy. Down. Good girl. Just because I say her name doesn't mean, hey, I want her, good girl, down, good girl. Then she shouldn't get up. So I'm gonna say up. Good girl. Stacy. Hey, down. Good girl. I'm gonna wait a second. She's very anticipatory. Stacy. Good girls. Stay. Good girl. Stacy. Yes, stay. Good girl. Stacy. You're down. Stacy. Good girl. Stacy. Good girl. Stay. She's very anticipatory. So she is definitely jumping a little bit. Stacy. Hey. Good girl. Stacy, sit. Yay. Good girl. Release. You think you have the trick down? Good girl. Good job. Okay. So we're going to try this. We're going to move this out of the way. When you have a dog that's new to this scenario here, okay? So we're going to pretend she doesn't know how to jump. I'm pretty confident that for her size, she can get up onto this jump on box. Hey, good girl. Pretty well. So, but I'm gonna use that momentum here. Let's go, come on. So I'm gonna move out, and then I'm gonna just come up. Yay, jump, yay, good girl. So, when you are, Stacey, off, good girl. When you're labeling the behavior, okay, and she's probably gonna do this here, and I'm gonna do it a little bit in slow motion. I'm going to encourage her to jump up onto the jump on box. Hey, good girl. Hey, I'm giving her, helping her also to wait here. When, hey, good girl. I want to label the movements of the jump, okay, before it's a command. So this is where timing comes in. So I'm going to try it from this direction, and I'm going to try it from a separate direction. So I'm going to motivate her. Let's go. Jump. Good girl. Now, I rewarded her when her feet hit the jump on box. But technically, I should have said the jump command when her back legs were pushing off. Because that's the problem that puppy raisers tend to have, especially with getting into your car, is when the dogs won't use their back legs. Come here. Well, let's watch my timing here. Jump. Good girl. I actually feel like I'm slightly off. Off. Good girl. I'm going to try this again. Let's see. Jump. Good girl. She actually does pull a little bit more with her front feet. So that's just something that is where puppy raisers tend to have a problem with getting in and out of their car is because they're having the dogs learn to pull with their front feet. And that doesn't help us out when they're not making the effort. So really watch what you're doing here. Jump. Look at their back feet and only say the command jump. Let's go. Come here. Jump. When you see their back feet going, their back feet are pushing. Don't go crazy with this, but it's something to think about. Are they pulling with their front feet or are they pushing off from their back feet? That's what's going to help you get them to be more proficient at getting into your car. Off. Come here. Okay. So we're going to try this here, and I have a feeling she's going to do it. Here. I'm going to grab me some food. We're going to go all the way up. Here. I'm going to use momentum. Jump. Good girl. Yay, good job. Off. So, good girl. So we had a very exuberant, come here. We had a very exuberant off with that. I would work on not having her be so leapy off because she is still young. So what many of you guys know and what Dave was kind of talking about, when we are working on getting them to jump out of the car is give them that support so that they're not doing this leaping behavior. So we're still doing this. I'm helping her here. Jump. Good girl. Good job. So now I want her to come off and I'm going to guide her. I know you're a little weirded out. Come on. Come on. Off. There we go. She definitely still wants to jump. Good girl. Jump. Clearly you have no issues with jumping. Good job. Good girl. We're going to try this off. I want to get her in a little, come here. Oh, hold up. You're gonna wait for me. Jump. There we go. Good girl. Helping them to understand not to be so dramatic with jumping off. Helping to tone it down a little bit. Now, some of you guys are like, man, I wish I had a dog that was so motivated like her. Because when we're first teaching, let's go, we're gonna use this momentum of jump. Good girl, yay. Don't eat the hair, you nerd. Good girl, come here. Off, there we go, good girl. I helped her to be not so forward and leapy coming off. So, as you guys are working on, hey, sit. Good girl. That momentum, eventually you will get to the point where, let's go. You can, she's anticipating here. So we know that she's learned this. I want to get her into a sit here, and then I'll build into that jump command. Hey, jump. Good girl, yay. Okay. Off. Good girl. So she's anticipating, so I'm gonna have her stop. Up, sit. I'm gonna catch her before she starts, because she knows I'm gonna ask this. Hey, good girl, you don't have to step the ground. Stacy, jump. Good girl, yay. Cool. We're gonna go to the back corner here. Zoom in a little bit and we can see her jumping on something that she actually might struggle with back here. I was gonna go, I'm thinking here, oh, I know what I was gonna say. Before I move that, a lot of times pug raisers have problems with the dogs jumping into the car. And I can state this about car and jump. Oh, you almost fell off. You can start with jump and then transition it to car. Hey, stay still. Sit. You can just sit still. Good girl. I'm gonna work on just getting her just to sit still like this without her moving all over the place. Good girl. So if you're having a problem getting the dogs to do car, make sure, start off with jump and then transition it to car. But a couple of the things that sometimes happens with car is that if I had this jump on box up against the wall, dogs don't always have this great perception. Stacy, down. Good girl. This great perception state of space. And so because there's a wall right there, or in your car it's black, or the seat is up, they think they're like, oh, I can't do that. I can't, there's something in the way. It's their perception of what they perceive to be in front of them, okay? That's where we have to kind of build up their confidence. So if you are having problems with the dogs jumping onto something, especially jumping into the car, good girl, good job. Think about it from their mind. Do they perceive they can't do it? You're like, oh my gosh, you have all this space here. It's not that big of a deal. You can totally do it. But in their mind, they're going, yep, nope, it's an abyss. I can't possibly do it, okay? So that's where sometimes you have to open up the doors, turn the lights on in the car, move something away from the wall so they don't look like they're going to be jumping into the wall, even though you might think, oh, they have plenty of room. They see the wall and think they can't do it, okay? Let's go. Now, the one other thing too is like if they know the distance of this jump on box, okay? They might think, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall over the other side. They might have some lack of confidence, okay? So you might also think about approaching something, hey, sit, good girl. at a different angle so that it gives them that perception that there is a lot more space. So a lot of times when we have problems with the dogs jumping on something that's this high, what you want to do is, what we do is we recommend coming at it lengthwise. Let's go. So we will come around, and then we'll come this way. Jump. Yay, good job. Off. Good girl, yay. And then we'll do that, use the momentum. Come on. Jump. Yay, good girl. Good job. Sit. Good girl. Now, stay. Good girl. If you are having problems with getting the dogs to jump, you can always use a step stool of some kind, okay? So this happens to work best for us, how we've had these made. But you guys can use like a cooler, a step, an exercise step. Sit. Good girl. And let her get up out of her sit. Pay attention and talk the more. I've got to pay attention more. So you start off something like this, where you can easily slide it underneath. So if you're having that problem with getting him into the car, put something lower that they learn to step up on, and then you slowly push it further under and under and under until they are making that effort. Let's go. Good girl. So we know she can do this. We'll go jump. Yay! Reward her up here. Good girl. Ah. Hey, I know you're dropping the kibbles yourself. And then we push it in a little bit more. Jump. Yay, good job. Good girl. Push it under a little bit more. Oh, good girl. Yay, good job. Good girl. Oh, good girl. We have some kibble dropping here. I'm going to do that one again. Jump. Good girl, because a lot of times what will happen when you get it to a certain point, they no longer use that step to get up. They'll just hoist themselves up before. Jump. Good girl. Now, if I do this too many times where she's starting to trip a little bit, good girl, off. I might really move it or pull it back out because I don't want to create a negative association for her. If she keeps tripping, she might go, this isn't fun, this kind of hurts. Yay! So put something lower that helps them get up and then slowly push it under and under and under using that momentum, and that's going to help you with jump. Off. Okay. I want to show you this back. Jump. I don't know what I did with my... Let's see what she does here. All right. So now, this is really interesting. When you're working on if you're starting to go, what do I need to think about in terms of environment? As I'm coming here, my issue is that, hey, sit. I'm not a small person, okay? So what is the space that's over here that could possibly throw her off because she's never jumped on something like this? Stacy, don't sit. So she's on heel, okay? And I'm gonna be closest to the wall here, okay? But because I'm not a small person, I am pushing her out closer to the edge here, okay? Now, when you look at this also scenario, underneath the jump on box are all the little steps that we have, okay? And then over here is a whole open area, all right? So in her mind, with her not really knowing what I'm going to be asking her to do, she is probably going to be more successful jumping up where the boxes are underneath there because she sees that there's something there. So if I come up to this with her right in front of this open spot, there's a good chance that she's going to try and crawl underneath, which she's like, oh, look at this, because that's way easier than jumping up higher, okay? So when you are approaching a novel situation, this is where we have to be aware of our environment and how we set ourselves up for. Now, one of the problems is here, hey, sit, good girl. When I was working with jump, over here, I was working on heel position. And then all of a sudden now I'm going to come over here because I want her by the boxes. Sit. Hey, Stacy, sit. Good girl. She's starting to protest me a little bit. I want her over here by the boxes because she's more apt to jump. But have I been working on her on side to jump? Let's go. I haven't been. So I should come back here and I'm going to go off screen here. And I'm sorry you guys are seeing this. Good girl. All right. Off. So I just practiced on those jump on boxes. I know you guys can't see jump. To see if she can get there. Okay? Off. Good girl. So now I'm going to come this direction. Hey. So I know that she can jump the same height, but because this is more open, I'm going to set her up by having the wall next to her, something directly in front of her so she doesn't crawl under the jump on box. I'm going to use momentum and we're going to see what happens. Come on, let's go. Come on. Come on. Jump. Ah, see? Good. Okay. Good girl. Okay. So, yay, good girl, good job. Oh, good. So she still even didn't go fully because she was a little unsure. This is weird, and she stepped on the boxes under there. So we're going to come out again, and I tried rewarding her by giving her some kibble, by getting her feet to come up on top where I wanted. Let's go. Come on, jump. Yay, good girl. Good girl. Yay. Oh. I'm going to try it one more time. Come on. Ready? Good. Let's go. Jump. He's not doing it. Okay? Now, there's a couple of things I really hate. I should bend down here so you guys can see me. This. One, I'm saying jump a lot, okay? And that's something that I don't really want to do because it's not teaching her anything. It's just teaching her that I'm going, that's all she hears, okay? So I need to come at this in a different way. We know that she is comfortable in a heel position doing this. I'm going to switch her back to heel, and I'm going to come over to this other jump on box. Let's see if I can. All right. I'm going to go to that one now. So this one, I'm going to move the dumbbells off of it, but the top of the jump on boxes are a little slick, okay? And so what might happen is when she was trying to get her feet onto it, she's like, it's not carpet like this other one. And so she should be more back to bulk at it than what I would like. Let's go. So, actually, we're going to go back to this one, but I'm going to set her up for a little bit of success here. I'm going to change it up. This is when I realized, I was like, oh, by moving over to that other jump-on box, I am putting her back in side position. Okay? So this is what I'm going to do here. Let's go. So we know she can jump onto this. Jump. Good girl. Hey. Good girl. I'm going to give her a kibble here. Now I'm going to come. Yay! Good girl. Good jump. Then I'm going to have her come this direction. Oh. Good girl. Because coming down usually is more confident than going up.
Sit. Sit.
Jump. Jump.
Wait.
Good girl. Good job. Oh.
Look at her face.
Girl. Now what I'm going to do,
Lay down.
this, slightly to the side there. Let's go. Good. Jump. Yay, good girl. Off. Good girl. Off. Good job. Good. Let's go. Come on. Jump. Yes. Good girl. Let's go. Off. Yay. I'm going to move this out a little bit more. Yes, good girl. Off. Yay, good girl. Come on. Jump. Good girl, yay. Moving it further away. Off. Good girl, come on. Come on, let's go, come on. Come on, jump! Yay! Good girl! Woo! Yay! Off. And guess what? We're gonna stop there. Because I'm starting to peter out. Sit. Hey, come here. She's starting to peter out. Sit. Good girl. Down. And we want to set her up for success, all right? So we are not going to keep pushing it. I finally got her to jump up there. We had success without the use of equipment. Now, the next time I go back to working on this, I will pull that little table back out again to give her some help, build that confidence, and then take the table away like we did, and then hope that we've gotten more success. All right. Okay. Let's move to under. Let's go. So we're gonna come here. Now, and then I'll come back to answer questions. All right, so I pushed the jump on, the smaller jump on box through, okay? Now, one of the things that this has kind of created is a little bit of darkness under there. So again, when we're evaluating the environment, I didn't put you into that. Sit. Good girl, down. Good girl. When you're looking at the environment in which you're teaching something, think about don't. what is the dog's perception, okay? So in this situation, while I did push that back, she's gonna see a wall back there. There's a chance she could think, I can't go under there, it's too dark, it's an abyss. So we wanna make it light. The other thing about these jump-on boxes is the closed sides. We have some other jump-on boxes where they don't have closed sides. It's all open, so more like a table. And think about it, a table is a perfect place for you to start practicing down. To start practicing this because they can see exactly where you need to go. Okay. I'm waiting her out. Good girl, stay. Now I'm gonna wait a second here. I'm stopping that just because she keeps popping up, and I don't want to reward this because she knows that if she pops up and then I tell her to go back into a down, she's going to start thinking that that's how you get this reward. So what I'm going to just do is do something different here, and she's not going to get food reward. Down. Good girl. I'm going to give her verbal praise. Good girl. I'm going to set, hey, come down. Good girl. I need to be better prepared here. I'm putting her back into the down. Now she's choosing, don't, down. Good girl. I gotta be faster than her. Don't. Good girl. That was better timing on my part. Stay. Good girl. Let's go. Yay, good girl. Yay. All right. That was a little interlude right there. When you start to work on something that is much lower, okay, take in, what does the dog see? Come on. Sit. What does the dog see? How can I make it easier the first time that we're doing it? When in our puppy classes, when we use these jump-on boxes and I can see that someone's never done this before, and then they're starting to push and pull on the dog to get them to go under, try something higher. Let's go. But usually the biggest thing that I do is I come in, I have to be prepared because we just worked on getting her to jump. So maybe using momentum for under on something that we just did jump with is not a good idea because she's going to think, oh, we're jumping now. And now we're going, okay, we need to try something different. So what I'm going to do, I am going to also put her, when we think about setting up her environment, come on, sit, good girl. This is set up perfectly for her to do an under, because when she goes under and I lure her, I'm going to be luring her underneath here, but across through the middle of this jump-on box. So she goes, I have so much space, okay? If I were to have her over here, and then wanted her to do an under, and I'm right at the edge of this, and I try to lure her, she's gonna see the wall right here and go, I can't possibly do that. So that's why more open things are easier to start out with the dogs, because they're like, there's no space for me. Now, if she was a much older dog, she was getting ready to turn in, and I could ask her to go into an under from here, that's the expectation. Yeah, right, she can figure out she can get in there and curl up. But because we're introducing this, I want to make sure that she can perceive she has enough space. Let's go. So I'm going to come to the edge here. I'm going to squat down, and I'm going to lure her under so that she can get her body to go all the way under. Let's go. I'm going to do that again. Under. Good girl. Good job. Let's go. Now what I might do is I might use the leash hand to help guide her. And I'm going to put my knees all the way up here, so her only option is to go under and around me, okay? So she's all the way under. My knees are touching the jump on box because, let's go. If I start this out and I stop here, or maybe over here, and I'm like under, oh, she's a good girl. Now, she didn't go all the way under like she had been before. She's sticking out a little bit. But that's where a lot of times, if we're too far out here, they just come in front of us. And that's not what we want. Let's go. So when we're doing something really low, come up, bend down so your knees are blocking, and then lure them under. And then you can come up to see, okay, yep, she's down. Good girl, let's go. Yay. And then you keep building up to it until you don't have to bend down and you can go, hey, under. Come on. She still needs the lure. Good girl, yay. So you want to be close, take away all her options to make other decisions that we don't want, because again, we don't want pushing or pulling. Now, sometimes when I have dogs that have problems with doing this under, let's go. What I'll do is I will pull this much further away if there's anything behind it. And what I'll do is I'll have someone go on the other, either they hold the leash and then I go to the other side and get her to go all the way under. So she's like, okay, this is a really good thing. All right. Couple other things here. Now, I'm setting myself up to do something different to talk to you guys. So I'm going to go back to jump, but I'm going to set her up for success jump. Good girl, down. Good girl. So when I went back to jump here, I went at a completely different angle to this. When she goes to this side, there's no opportunity for an under, so she can only do a jump. With jump up and under, and you're starting to teach this, really make sure that you're doing it in places that are very clear in what you want them to do, okay? Because you're going to get into that level of confusion for them. Are you going to ask me to do an under? Are you going to ask me to do an up? Are you going to ask me to do a jump? So if you come up to something and you're like, I'm not sure what they're going to offer, you be prepared to stop them, kind of like I was doing before. Stacy, let's go. When I come up, I'm like, okay, I prepare her for going, what do I want her to do here? So I stopped her, good girl, and then go, okay, I want her to jump, but I'm new to this teaching, so I'm gonna let's go, over here, jump, and then do whatever I was going to do. But I'm setting her up for success for 9 months old. Now, if she is 19 months old, that's where I really hope that I'm working on that I can stand right here and say jump up and under, and she's going to learn the difference without me having to bend over or to pad up here. But we have to set them up for success to where they know jump means all 4 feet, up means just 2 feet, and under means crawl under something and lay down, okay? The other thing that I want to get you to under, then I'm going to come over there to look at what questions you have, is the vest, all right? So we have been doing this with the vest off. You might have to.
You want a second? I heard you say the second hand. You want it?
Oh, no, I'm good. Thank you. Tanya heard me, she was offering help. When you have a vest on and you have something that's low, so this lip right here is really at the back of a lot of dogs, okay? And when they go under with a vest, sometimes the vest hits at the back and they go, whoa, I can't go under there, I don't fit. If they feel they're gonna get hooked on something, they generally are gonna back out of doing it. So be prepared. If it's a low item, they have their cape on, you might have to back up in training if they bulk at this. Now, one of the things you guys can do in like local puppy classes, your volunteer-led classes, oh, we're falling off. Stacy, sit down. What a way to create some negative association here. She's just wiggling. It is limbo, okay? So we play this in our classes here locally where we use a pool noodle or we use a towel and we get them to crawl underneath. And what we do is we lower the pool noodle or the towel. So the dogs kind of have to push through. We just lure them through. So we'll go on to the other side and we'll get them to come so that that pool noodle drags across their back, hits that cape, and we're using that motivation in food to teach them that just because you feel some pressure here, you can still pull through it, okay? So that's just something to think about, is that when you put the cape on, what side you're on is gonna play a part in how are they going to do it. And don't fall into that mindset where if you are, well, they should know it or they've been doing so good. It's totally okay to take a step back in training because again, if Stacy here is just 9 months old, she's going through that second fear period where she might losing her mind and we might have to take a step back in training altogether to help set her up for success. So just know all of those things are really, really common and hence why we don't graduate dogs under a year of age because they are mentally unstable in the nicest way possible. All right, off. I'm gonna come closer. Stacy is tired. Stacy, down. Hey. Good girl. All right. I'm scrolling up here to look at questions. How do you know if they have hip dysplasia? Sadly, the thing is you don't know if they have hip dysplasia, so that's why it's just important to be down. Good girl. Aware and help them to be successful. Because sometimes some dogs don't show that they've got hip dysplasia and we don't know if they're predisposed to it because it's very much a genetic thing. And whole litters could be perfectly fine, but you have one puppy that's got, down. Is predisposed to it. So that's why we just want puppy raisers just to be cautious and help set them up for success and not overdo it with too much repetitive. All right, great. Gave you some good ideas. When going into the car, do you use the command car? Then you ask them to jump. I would probably do just, okay, depends on which you have, my personal opinion, and each puppy program manager might do it differently. And there's really no wrong way to do this. Well, maybe there is a wrong way, but probably what you're doing is fine. What I would say is what I do is I teach jump because I'm always saying and labeling certain behaviors when they're doing it. So what will happen is when I get to car, I've already probably introduced jump to them. So I usually say jump first, and then when they're getting really good with jump, then I'll transition it over to car. Stacy, down. I'm not. Sit. Down. Good girl. She's got ants in her pants. So Sandy says tips for a stubborn dog. Sit. And this is down. Come on. Stacy is getting a little resistant on me. Come on. She's sliding backwards. Come on. Come on. I gotta get her closer. Down. Don't. Down. Good girl. Okay, tips for a stubborn dog: can jump in the car when he wants to, but often chooses not to. What I would actually probably do is work on jump in a lot of other places, play ball in the car, go and sit and feed them in the car, read to them in the car, do different things that good things happen regardless whether we're driving somewhere or not. And so you've got to mix it up a little bit, and it's to kind of get them out of that habit of going, sometimes I can refuse this. And if we really teach them that the car is a really good thing, you usually start avoiding that, the dog's refusing to get into it. They usually start going, ooh, maybe we're sitting here and we're getting treats, things like that. All right, I notice you do not use the pup's name when giving commands. So it all depends if I think that I have their attention, okay? Stacy is really responsive, good girl. She's really responsive, so I know she's paying attention to me. If this was a lot more distracting of an environment, I probably would say her name more often. I'd also be careful because you don't want to get into that habit of going, Stacy, 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 because it's the same thing as what I was doing with the jump over there. I was like, jump, jump, jump. And it's a whole bunch of words you don't need to use. And so what I really try to do is limit how much I'm saying and get them to think, what is it that we are asking the dog to do? And I can't believe it is 1 o'clock already. We did not get to up, but hopefully you guys found this. I thought I actually had a little bit more time. I did not. That isn't perfect to watch. I like the unperfect ones because, and this also makes me go, how do I help you guys? Because she's just rolling all over here. She's in a down and she's staying down. I'm using my foot on her leash to kind of help her to stay in position, so that if she decides to get up, she hits the end of that, but she knows that that's not a bad thing, and then she just relaxes back down again. And so I'm taking away that habit, but a lot of you guys are experiencing these dogs that are just really antsy. They just cannot sit still, and she happens to be one of them. You're very sniffy. It's just a lot of patience and being prepared, because in reality, what's happening here is I'm being a little inconsistent in my handling, because she sometimes is getting away with it, and sometimes I'm giving her commands and sometimes I'm not. And so in reality, while she's great for demoing, on a regular everyday basis, I really have to go, okay, am I managing her properly in this situation? And maybe she's not ready for this, because there she goes. She just sat up because I took my foot off and I got myself distracted. Down. Thank you. I waited her out so you can see those pauses. Sometimes we just want to jump in. Okay. She just popped back up again. Release. Come here. Release. I agreed to be a better handler and now say you can just stand so that I'm not teaching you inappropriate things. So now she's just going to stand here and she can sniff me now. That's okay. All right. Thank you guys so much. Sorry we went a little bit over here. I am going to stop recording.